Zacian is in raids in Pokemon Go. From now until September 26th, you have the opportunity to catch this Generation 8 Fairy-type legendary Pokemon in Pokemon Go. Of course, people want to know just how good is Zacian in Pokemon Go? Is it the new best Fairy-type attacker in the game? Is it a really good raid attacker in the game? Is it good in PvP? Well, in this video, I'm going to let you know just how good Zacian is in Pokemon Go. By the way, if you want to know how good all the other Generation 8 Pokemon are in Pokemon Go, and the ones that haven't even been released yet, there is a nice article on Game Press by Tyler and Lorma96, the Generation 8, the best Pokemon for trainer battles. And this talks about Zacian, Zacian's brother, Zamazenta, and all the other Generation 8 Pokemon that have been released and that will be released in the future in Pokemon Go based off of their current Game Master information. So link in the description to that. So here we have Zacian, a Fairy-type Pokemon. CP cap at level 40 is 3,829. I'm not sure if Zacian is pre-nerf or post-nerf, the 9% nerf. I believe the 9% nerf has been applied though, because Zacian's Crowned form has a bigger CP stat, and they have the same stamina stat, and they have the same stamina stat in the main series games, so I'm going to assume that Zacian here is hit with the 9% nerf already for Pokemon that go over 4,000 CP at level 40. If you don't understand what that all means, don't worry about it. But yeah, Zacian has a pretty nice fat attack stat, decent balanced defense stat, kind of low on the stamina side, but not too bad. What makes or breaks a Pokemon in Pokemon Go, as we are all already aware, is more so the move pool than anything else. So when it comes to Zacian's fast moves, we got the variety hour going on here. We got 4 different fast moves. We got Metal Claw, Snarl, Quick Attack, and Fire Fang. And one thing you may notice about these 4 fast moves here is that none of them are a Fairy-type fast move. No Fairy-type fast move on Zacian, so that doesn't really bode well for Zacian as a raid attacker. You really want to have that, same type attack bonus on the fast move to really, push yourself to the edge as a raid type attacker. But as we've seen with Mewtwo as a ghost type attacker, maybe it could overcome it. We do have Snarl. Snarl does have good energy gains. Quick Attack is an interesting middle of the road move as well. So there is some hope for Zacian, especially in trainer battles, because these attacks are pretty decent in trainer battles as well. And then when it comes to the charge move department, we got Play Rough, Iron Head, Wild Charge, and Close Combat. So when it comes to raids, I believe Play Rough is the best Fairy-type charge move for raids. It's been a while since I looked into that. It's not the best move for PvP, but it's not like a bad Fairy-type charge move for PvP. It could be better. Iron Head gives it some interesting coverage against opposing Fairy-type Pokemon, which is nice. And then Close Combat is freaking Close Combat. You're a Steel-type Pokemon trying to block my Fairy-type attacker. Eat some Fighting-type charge move, man. And then Wild Charge is also interesting for that Electric-type coverage. Could give it some variety. I know in Master League we got Ho-Oh, we got Kyogre. Those are 2 Pokemon that Zacian doesn't like to fight against, and Wild Charge can help it out there. And when it comes to Zacian's raid performance, here I have the DPS TDO spreadsheet on Game Press, filtered by Fairy Pokemon, up against a Dragon-type target. So you can see how much Snarl will impact a real raid where you're trying to use a Fairy-type attacker. And you can see Zacian, hero of many battles, our girl Zacian here, good old Zaci, isn't doing bad, but she's not doing so hot either. Right now our best options, are Gardevoir and Togekiss, and Zacian kind of falls right in line with them in terms of performance. Zacian does have a higher DPS to the 3rd power times TDO because Zacian does have a higher TDO, so that's good. And if you filter it by DPS to the 3rd power times TDO, if you're unfamiliar with this metric, it's just like a generalized metric for Pokemon's overall raid goodness, that tankiness, but big emphasis on the damage. Zacian is number 1 as far as our non-shadow options are concerned. That said, Zacian's not all that far ahead, and for a legendary raid exclusive type Pokemon, I don't think Zacian's exactly worth it. On top of that, we can get a little bit of a taste of the future Zacian Crowned Sword, an alternate form of Zacian. So you got like Giratina Origin Form, Giratina Altered Form, that kind of idea. So in the future, we're going to get Crowned Zacian, and Crowned Zacian is the same thing as Zacian, but with a bigger attack stat and a Steel subtyping, and I think that'll just be even better. We don't know what moveset Crowned Sword is going to get. Usually with these alternate form Pokemon, they get a different move pool. They shake up the move pool a little bit, so the move pool could be worse. It could also be better as well. So we'll have to see what happens in the future with that. But yeah, as it stands, they're probably going to share the same candy pool like other alternate form Pokemon. So why spend all your jimmies on Zacian here when you could spend it on cooler Zacian in the future? Of course, bigger attack stat doesn't help out too much when it comes to Ultra League PvP because that does hurt the CP bulk formula. If you don't know PvP IVs, link up above in the description to my PvP IVs simplified video. Make that all nice and clear for you. But let's see how Zacian's doing in PvP. So Zacian's stats are too big as a raid caught Pokemon, so we can't get Zacian into the Great League. So we're going to look at the Ultra League here first. And interesting thing about Zacian, a fairy type Pokemon that uses Snarl, Close Combat, and Play Rough, it has the same exact stat product, or nearly the same exact stat product, as Granbull, a fairy type Pokemon with Snarl and Close Combat and Play Rough. So the defining feature for Zacian and Granbull is going to be their other secondary charge moves. Granbull uses Crunch. Zacian can use Wild Charge or Iron Head instead of Play Rough as well to separate them. And pouring over the various matchups with different Zacian movesets and different shield scenarios, Granbull is just kind of as good, if not better than Zacian. Interesting thing I noticed with Zacian is that if you don't have Play Rough on Zacian, it does end up losing a lot of dark type matchups that Granbull can still overcome without using a fairy type attack. So I think that's a pretty bad look for Zacian here, because if Zacian's not running Play Rough, then it's going to have a rough time against the ever so common dark type Pokemon, Scrafty included. You know, Scrafty 2x weak to fairy type attacks. You don't have a fairy type attack, I guess that fighting type attack just ain't enough. So it's kind of a bum deal for Zacian there. Zacian can pull ahead of Granbull in some matchups where Wild Charge gives it that coverage. So against like Gyarados and Dragonite, I think almost exclusively Zacian can pull ahead there, maybe against Politoed or Poliwrath as well. But aside from that, Zacian's not necessarily a phenomenal Pokemon. And if you have any experience with Snarl Granbull isn't exactly a phenomenal Pokemon either in the Ultra League. It's an interesting spice pick that can throw your opponents off, and the main reason why it throws opponents off is because they're expecting Charm Granbull, and so they might respond to Granbull as if it has Charm when you swap Granbull in, and it has Snarl, so now it's reaching these charge moves really quickly, and that might not be what you're prepared for. If you run into Zacian, Zacian is almost always going to be using Snarl, and if it's not using Snarl, the other options really aren't all that hot, so you kind of know what to expect from Zacian, aside from what its secondary charge move might be. And when it comes to that mystery box of charge moves, you can manage all different variations of Zacian's charge moves with a lot of Pokemon, many of the same Pokemon that can deal with Snarl Granbull pretty easily, so it's like Zacian's not bad in the Ultra League, it's just not that great. Like if you're going to raid for a Pokemon, spend money to 2-move it and all that kind of stuff for Zacian, you know, I think that you'd have a better investment elsewhere as far as getting ahead in Ultra League goes. And then to add to that, Zacian does have a better performance in the Master League, so if you're going to be 2-moving a Zacian, you may as well be 2-moving the Master League Zacian. You know what I'm saying? That said, if you really like the design and you got a good IV spread for the Ultra League and you want to show off your Zacian, Zacian does look pretty cool. It's not a bad Pokemon. You could use it, pilot it, and have a pretty good time with it in the Ultra League. And for the people that don't know the moveset, they won't know what's coming. And finally, here we have Zacian in the Master League. The Master League Classic against the custom Master League meta list, with a couple of erroneous and doubled up Pokemon filtered out to make it a little bit easier to look at. And yeah, you can see in the 1 shield scenario, the 1-1 even shield scenario, Zacian's pretty good. You know, 16 wins to 14 losses, not that bad. And I'd say Zacian overall is a pretty decent middle-of-the-road Pokemon for that. It's not bad. It's not meta-defining, though. It's a very okay Pokemon. And for that reason, it's no skin off your back if you pass up Zacian. If you are into Zacian, though, I think Zacian's unique utility in the Master League is going to come down as a safe swap Pokemon, because you can see here it is getting those 16 wins, but if you get a 1 Snarl advantage, that turns into 18 wins, and if you get a 2 Snarl advantage, then boom, 25 wins. So you can flip the script on your opponent pretty easily, or possibly get a shield advantage in the Master League using Zacian as a safe swap option. On top of that, Zacian can work well in the close. It can clean up pretty well because it does have Snarl, and the close combat and the wild charge come pretty quick there. So you can clean up in the end game fairly well with Zacian too. And Zacian is one of those Master League Pokemon that just kind of crush everything if you have a shield advantage as well. So Zacian kind of has it going on, as well as just about any Master League Pokemon goes. One big problem with Zacian though, big thing I don't like about Zacian, is Zacian doesn't have a whole lot of dominating matchups. For example, if we go to the 0-1 shield scenario, so Zacian playing at a shield disadvantage, you can see that the Pokemon we're beating here are just like Garchomp, Mamoswine, Palkia, Dragonite, and Machamp. And when it comes to these wins, for the most part, I mean, Garchomp is a little bit lost here, but when it comes to these wins, they are pretty narrow. 500 is a tie, so this means that Zacian is just kind of winning by the skin of its teeth. And for most of these matchups, if you give these Pokemon any sort of energy lead, they end up flipping the matchup on Zacian as well. So Zacian doesn't really hard counter a whole lot in the Master League, despite being a fairy type Pokemon. On top of that, it does have that 2 charge move syndrome going on as well. There's a lot of times where Zacian would really love to have Wild Charge, but if you don't have Wild Charge on it, then like Ho-Oh, Kyogre, Togekiss, they have a better matchup against Zacian. And then to that end, if you do swap out any of your other charge moves for Wild Charge, then that can hurt your other matchups as well. So Zacian can be a little bit awkward to pilot for these reasons. So once again, Zacian, really decent Pokemon in the Master League, decent save swap, decent closer, can be tricky with the lead, but overall, not a meta-defining, not like a Supremo Pokemon that's going to cause you to win every single Master League matchup because nobody can handle the power of Zacian. It's not exactly that type of Pokemon. And then also to add to this, we do have the future to consider, the Crowned Zacian form. I don't know how far out Crowned Zacian is going to be because we haven't even really done Gen 7 yet. We're not done with Gen 6. So we got these random Gen 8 Pokemon sprinkled in. It could be a year or two before we see the crowned form of Zacian. So that is something to keep in mind. But Zacian Crown is like the same stats as Zacian, but bigger attack stat and a steel subtyping, which generally helps more than it hurts. And it could have a better move pool as well. So do you want to spend all your, candy right now on the basic Zacian, or do you want to hold out for the future? I'd say that's up to you. Once again, if you like Zacian's design and you don't mind spending the money to use Zacian, you really like Zacian, Zacian's not bad in the Master League, but it's not phenomenal either. And that about wraps it up for Zacian in Pokemon Go. If you got any questions on this content, of course, comment below, let me know what's up, and I'll be happy to help you out. And if you enjoyed this kind of content and you want to see more like it, well, make sure to subscribe to SwagTips. And then, once again, if you do want to know about Zacian or Zacian's brother, Zamazenta, I don't know if I said that right, or any of the other Gen 8 Pokemon, link in the description to the article on Game Press that covers everything for you. I'd also like to give a special shout out to these Patreon supporters. If you want to support Swagman on Patreon, link in the description. Zamazenta. Zacian. Zashi. I like the nickname Zashi. Can we make Zashi the nickname for Zacian? Zashi's cute. Then we can call Zamazenta Z-Dog.